Hi, welcome back to Skincare and Beyond, your beauty podcast that goes deeper than skin deep. Today I'm joined by Marie Tudor. She is the CEO of skin cancer charity Skcin. Welcome, Marie. Thank you for being here with me today.
No, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
So we're going to talk a lot about skin cancer detection today and sun protection, which is really important to face the future. We're doing our 365 Days of SPF campaign at the moment, obviously just really pushing that education towards sun protection, wearing it every day. And the importance of that is, something that's really close to our hearts. And I know it is yours as well. Can you tell us a bit about why the charity was founded?
Yeah, I can certainly give you the backstory to our humble beginnings. The name of the charity, which everybody will see in our branding and our logo, is Skcin, which is Skcin. But the KC has significant relevance to our humble beginnings. And that initial stands for Karen Clifford. So Karen Clifford lost her life to melanoma in 2005. And it was the family's wish that her death shouldn't be in vain. 20 years ago, there was no education. There was no awareness. The family didn't know anybody else that had got melanoma, anybody else that died of melanoma. And Richard Clifford set up the charity because they didn't want other families to go through what she'd gone through. And they took a unique approach that they thought about whether they went down the route of being a patient support charity, whether they put money into research, but ultimately they decided, due to one massive statistic, which you'll be fully aware of, that 90%, 86% of melanomas, but 90% of skin cancers are preventable. To the family, that was the light bulb moment to say, actually, as a small charity, where can we make the biggest difference? And the biggest difference is by focusing on education. So as a charity, we're there to raise awareness of skin cancer, promote early detection and sun safety. And we do that in a number of different ways.
Because that's where it all starts, doesn't it? It starts at the home with people educating themselves and being aware of the importance of wearing the sun cream. Like you say, I think 17,000 melanoma cases can be prevented each year in the UK. That's a huge amount. It starts with the sun protection daily.
Yes, the absolute figure of 90% is just unreal, really, that actually people make the connection with smoking and lung cancer, that actually when everybody knows if they smoke, they get lung cancer. They don't actually know that if they're not careful with their tanning behaviours, using an SPF, that actually you very likely that you're going to get skin cancer. You talked about the statistics there of melanoma, 17,000 cases a year. We mustn't forget also non-melanoma skin cancer. So non-melanoma skin cancer, there are over 250,000 cases of non-melanoma skin cancer. You break that down even further, you've got 1 in 4 men and 1 in 5 women. Yeah. So if you think of everybody you work with, your family, your friends, your work colleagues, that figure is quite frightening. So ultimately, when we talk about education and prevention, the message is the same, whether we're talking about melanoma and the risks, whether we're talking about generic non-melanoma skin cancer. The awareness and the sun protection habits of what we should be really delivering as a message.
And it's rising as well, isn't it? The cases are rising. Yeah,
the cases are rising. The non-melanoma statistics are expected to reach, in the next 5 years, 400,000. And that's the figures that we've got, 250, are underestimated because many early stage non-melanoma skin cancers get removed in primary care and they're not always captured by the cancer registries. So actually, we're sitting on a little bit of a time bomb, really. Yeah. Non-melanoma is it's not life-threatening, but it's the number of cases. So if we talk about the number of cases that there are, that all of those cases need to be treated by the NHS. So they need to be either incised out or there needs to be a topical cream. And that is a massive, massive burden to the NHS. We're talking, in excess of 500 million, possibly more. The poor melanoma patients that we see will tell us of their difficult journeys. And that can cost in excess of £100,000 just for one patient.
Yeah, and this was discussed at the UV safety inquiry launch recently, wasn't it, that we both attended with the Beauty Council?
Yes.
It's going to take a long time, but, for the NHS, it's really important and it's something that could easily make a difference within the NHS.
Without a doubt. I mean, we've made our contributions to the NHS cancer plan, which the government has gone out for a consultation. We've made our contributions to that. And you don't have to be a politician to work out that this £500 million is being spent and 90% of these cases are preventable. That's not rocket science. It's simple policy and reform that we need to do to look at skin cancer education.
Are there any common misconceptions about who is most at risk of skin cancer?
I think the younger generation think it's always the old people that get skin cancer. So they always think, skin cancer is something that happens to older people. That's a really big misconception. There is a misconception as well that it won't happen to them. Yeah. So, I'm young and I'm invincible. It's not going to happen to me. Also, the misconception of people with darker skin, that they can't get skin cancer. And obviously they can.
It's universal, isn't it?
It's universal. Skin cancer is something that affects everybody. It's a societal problem and it affects everybody. So every single person has a responsibility to look after their skin health.
Yeah. So in terms of the charity, what do you kind of do mainly for the charity in your role as CEO? And where do you think kind of the gaps are in public awareness?
Well, there's two aspects to that question, and it's quite a difficult one to answer because my role as CEO is very, very broad.
Everything.
So when we developed the charity and what we do, we initially started off developing campaigns for at-risk groups, which was nice and easy. We could deliver a campaign. But what we quickly learned that campaigns are have a short shelf life and they don't always create that change in behaviour that we're looking for. So what we did 10 years ago is we developed our first national accreditation scheme for schools. So the idea of the schools programme is to get sun safety into those early year settings, also encourage that teachers and those settings have a sun safe policy in place, with a mission that when a child goes to school, that they revisit these teachings every year. So when a child starts at year 1, by the time they've left at year 5, they've got some kind of sun safety knowledge and education.
So it's part of the curriculum.
It's part of the curriculum, something we lobbied for as well to get it on the curriculum for a number of years. It became on the national curriculum in 2020.
Amazing.
So we're trying to evoke that behaviour change. So schools is our baby of our accreditations, working with an at-risk group. And that's been hugely, hugely successful. And we're reaching over 1 million school children. But since then, we've looked at the at-risk groups and thought about how we can develop solutions. So now we offer a suite of 5 national accreditation programmes to route that education in the most effective way to those at-risk audiences. And I think at the end, you were going to talk to me about a little bit more about what those different aspects of our work were.
Absolutely. I think the school angle is super interesting and amazing that you've started that work. It's so important. What would you say to mums listening about that if they're struggling with their schools at the moment? Obviously, it's quite a controversial topic. What would your advice be to mums out there that maybe are struggling a little bit with sun protection and their children?
The programme that we give is free for all primary schools. So it's on the national curriculum that all primary schools in England have to be teaching about sun safety. So if they have to be teaching about sun safety, where do the teachers go? Where do they go for that information? Where do they get that support? Where do they get support with policies? So the answer is they should visit Sun Safe Schools, which we've got a website for. And that will help them along that journey. But it's also there to help teachers as well in terms of embedding that knowledge and embedding that information into those school settings. For any parents that, want to make sure their child is being sun safe, ensure that their school is sun safe. Go and ask the question, do you know about this scheme? Is our school sun safe accredited, which is what we want to see. And if it's not, point the school in the direction of where they can come for that support and guidance. Our mission is to get every school in England, in the United Kingdom, sun safe accredited. So we can support parents that they feel that when they're handing their child over at the start of the school day, that they're going to be, not at risk of overexposure to UV, because there's a duty of care there for that setting.
Absolutely.
And that's the solution, really.
Amazing. So let's go into a bit more about the skin checks and the detection then. So what are the warning signs? What should people be looking out for to ensure that they're looking after their skin?
Right. We clearly advocate for people to do a skin check once a month. So with other health campaigns, if you think about, women get told to check their breasts once a month, men get told to check their testicles once a month. We also want people to do a skin check. So once a month, people should be conducting a skin check. So when they jump out the shower, once a month, get into the habit of checking the whole of their body from the scalp right to the base of the feet, and even in places and body parts where the sun doesn't shine. So that's what we really advocate for in terms of doing a skin check. When it comes to what to look out for, again, that is quite a broad question. So we've got non-melanoma skin cancers and we've got melanomas. Now, they all present in quite broad and different ways, particularly with non-melanoma skin cancer. Some non-melanoma skin cancers can look like eczema, a piece of dry skin. It's not always talking about a mole. So the best bit of advice I can give for anybody watching this, that if someone wants to find out more about what to look out for, particularly on the non-melanoma side, is that they look at our website, www.skcin.org, skcin.org. There is an array of pictures and information on there about what to look out for non-melanoma skin cancers, largely about basal cell carcinomas and squamous cell carcinomas. And they present in lots of different ways. If you want me to talk about melanoma, now there is a screening tool for melanoma, but what I need people to be very aware of, that the large majority of melanomas, 70% of them, actually appear from not an existing mole, but a new mole or lesion.
Really?
So whilst there is lots of information in social media, the NHS, everybody gives this ABCDE screening tool as a piece of advice, and it's very valid. But people must be mindful of that fact that actually a large percentage of melanomas just appear as something new.
And that makes the check even more crucial, because you know where your moles are on your body, don't you? So, and you always kind of focus on those, but that's why you need to be doing a whole body check all the time to make sure that you've finding new moles as well.
Yeah, definitely. So the ABCDE screening tool is used universally by the NHS. Dermatologists will give information out. Social media influencers will give the information out. And it's a simple thing. Each letter stands for an acronym that means something, that when you're looking at your skin and you're assessing a mole or looking at a skin lesion, of what you should look out for. So the A in that acronym stands for asymmetry. So when you look at a mole or lesion, you need to look at the asymmetry. So is it the same when you look at it, if you were to put a mirror down the middle? Is it symmetrical? If it's symmetrical, it's probably okay. If it's not, and it looks uneven on both sides, that is an indicator that something might be wrong. So when something is asymmetrical, it's an indicator that actually I should look at this a little bit more.
Okay.
The next one is B, and that stands for border. So does the border of that skin lesion, is it blurred? Is it defined? Is it spreading out in different directions? If it's a mole on the images that we've got presented for you here, that actually is defined and nice and clear, that's normally something that's okay. Lots of people have lots of moles that are perfectly fine. But if that border is uneven, ragged, more apparent in other parts of it than others, that's normally an indicator as well, the border. Okay. C stands for colour. Again, lots of people have lots of moles. Some of them are brown, healthy moles. But what we're looking for is the colour is different pigments within a mole. So some parts of that mole or lesion might be lighter brown, darker brown, and the pigment will be different, and it'll have elements to it. And that's why it's really important that when you go to a GP, usually they will look at that lesion under a dermatoscope, and they'll be able to see that pigment a lot more clearly. So C is for colour. D is for diameter, so the diameter of that lesion. So typically if it's over 6 millimetres, 6 millimetres is not that big. It's no bigger than really a pencil head. So if it's something bigger than 6 millimetres, that is something to be mindful of. And also the E, which I think E is probably the most important, because E stands for evolving. So that is something that is changing, something that is itching, something that is bleeding, and something that that you haven't noticed before. So that's the guidance. It's on our website. But again, for me, it's about that maybe something new that's appeared on the skin. Yeah. Get into the regular habit of checking your skin and what's comfortable for you in terms of what's familiar and what's not familiar.
Yeah. And obviously there's been many cases, I'm sure you're aware of loads as well, in terms of other people detecting problems on other people's skin. When you go and get a skin treatment, a massage, there must be so many different experiences that people have had with it, where other people have really helped them out and, got them to go and get help. What kind of role do they play in terms of how you support those people as well? Well,
there's a little bit of a backstory to this, really. So when Karen Clifford first picked up her skin cancer, it was actually her daughter that was a beauty therapist. This is over 20 odd years ago now. She was giving her mum a treatment, and she was the one that spotted the suspicious lesion on her stomach. She was the one that said, that doesn't look right. You need to get that looked at. And her mum was of the opinion, oh, it's not bothering me. It's not giving me any pain. I'm not going to bother the GP with this. But it was upon the insistence of her daughter, Tracy, that actually she went. And the sad story is it was a melanoma that later took her life. So from that very early days of the charity, we've known that anybody that undertakes close contact services has an absolute vital role to play in skin cancer surveillance. And that was the very, very reason why we set up our MASS training, the melanoma and skin cancer early detection. That's what the MASS stands for, because the power of people that work in that role is unbelievable. And the best news story that we had from very early on when we launched the training was one individual that has only got 100 patients that she deals with regularly. And she did our training and she decided that actually she wanted to do some skin surveillance with all of those patients. And there was 8, she narrowed it down to, that I really want you to go and visit a GP. Of those 8, 5 came back and said, yes, there were skin cancers.
Wow.
And 3 were melanomas.
Wow, that is crazy.
So that is the power of people that work in this sector, whether you be a hairdresser, barber, beautician, lash technician, tattooist. It is really, really powerful. And that's why we call the strap line of our training, Training Eyes to Save Lives. We had the last quarter of last year, 325 reported early detection cases from people that work in the industry.
Amazing. And obviously we have our own clinic. So, you know, we've definitely in the past helped our clients, you know, detect things as well. So again, really important to us as well. That early detection is everything, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So let's go back to a bit about the education, because we know it's at the heart of what Skcin does. So you've told us a bit more about the campaigns that you've done and everything with the schools and communities, which is brilliant. Is there any kind of stories or moments that kind of really stick out and stay with you from the work that you've done as CEO?
So that story I've just told you, that lady was Erica Hodgkiss, who was a small-time business owner, skin clinic owner. So that story always resonates. And when we got that news, Catherine, our co-founder, will tell you that she broke down in tears because this is the power of people that obviously are in this role. That story ended up going in the Daily Mail, the Daily Express, and it got us on Sky News.
Must make it all worthwhile.
So it makes
you.
it all worthwhile. Yeah. But I think the most relevant and recent one as well was Chris Evans. Chris Evans was on the radio, obviously, on the 1st of May to celebrate Skin Cancer Awareness Month. But 2.5 years ago, he was diagnosed with melanoma. Mm-hmm. The person that detected that melanoma was his deep tissue massage therapist, because Chris is a runner. He runs marathons and he goes every 6 weeks to see his therapist. She was rubbing his legs and said, Chris, what's this? And Chris was like, it's nothing, don't worry about it. She went back again. Chris, have you done anything about this? No, I've not done.
Why do we do this as humans in terms of we just ignore things that other people are flagging us on, but we're just like, no, bury our heads in the sand.
Yeah. So Chris eventually said, all right. And he went off, did some mole mapping, got a test, and it was a melanoma. He went back to his massage therapist and said, oh my goodness, you had just saved my life, because it was a melanoma. And he said, how did you know what to look out for? And she said, I've done this training with this charity Skcin, the melanoma and skin cancer early detection training. It's taught me what to look out for. They have an array of resources. They also have an app. And Chris Evans was quite simply blown away. Wow. That we'd obviously done this work.
Bravo to you.
So amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. And obviously the story, although we knew that 2.5 years ago, didn't actually come out in the public until the 1st of May, when Chris Evans said, will you come on the radio show and share that story?
Yeah, and he's done great things, hasn't he, to spread the word of it, especially for males as well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my dad had basal carcinoma on his nose, similar thing. It was bleeding, wasn't going. It only took one of his friends whose wife was a dermatologist, and then he kind of, you know, made it an important part, and he went and got help.
Yeah. Men are, like I say, in the statistics, 1 in 4 men. If you talk about melanoma, it's 1 in 35 men. So again, men in our communities and in our families, our partners, our husbands, whatever it might be, they are the ones to watch, because they don't take sun protection as seriously. They're not really into their skin routines as much, and they rely heavily on someone else nagging them or telling them, which is what as females tend to do. But men are a real concern because we need to embrace that and get them using SPF daily.
And there's so many great formulas out there that they have no choice, do they? They can't use the excuse of it being sticky on their face anymore.
Yeah.
So what would you say the biggest contributor to this growing public health issue is, Marie?
There's a number of different factors. And I think I look at this through slightly a different lens than anybody else, because we came from 20 years ago where there was no education. Yeah. There was no Dr. Google. There was no mobile phones, very few websites, zero, where there was no information, to where we've come now where there is lots of information. But I actually believe we're backpedaling because of the volume of information that's online and the volume of misinformation online. So that's a real concern. So the myths out there and the lack of education around SPF and the assumptions people are making. So I think that's a real concern for me, for the growing burden and the rising statistics.
Yeah, especially with TikTok, with the younger generations, it's really scary.
Yeah, and it's frightening. So we've gone from no education to having lots of education where we've got too much and everybody's being drowned out. And where is that true information? So misinformation is a real concern. Sunbeds, dare I say it? Sunbeds, I think people think that, do people really still use sunbeds? That's what a lot of people tend to say. But we know with the younger generation, they are re-emerging as a great source of where to get a tan. So there are 1 million people a day using sunbeds.
In the UK.
Now, exactly. So there is a reason why the International Agency for Cancer Research classifies UV radiation as a group 1 carcinogen. The same category as tobacco, the same category as asbestos. Yeah. Yet people make the connection with smoking and lung cancer, but they don't make that connection that actually if I go on a sunbed or I get too much UV ultraviolet radiation, I'm going to possibly get skin cancer. So sunbeds are a real problem. The youngsters are influenced. It's the glamorization about the need to have a tan that needs looking at. And it's a real concern that people are starting to use sunbeds. If people choose to use sunbeds, they need to have all the information to make an informed decision. We advocate people not to use sunbeds at all. Using a sunbed regularly before the age of 35 increases your chance of getting skin cancer by 75%. Wow.
That is a real shocker, isn't it? So the people that are using them every day.
There needs to be something looked at with that around that education for sunbeds. And the next one is probably the anti-sun cream movement. So I think more so in this last 4 years, there is a real move to people saying that sun cream is toxic, sun cream is dangerous, sun cream gives you skin cancer. That is a real concern. Yeah. And challenging that online is even more of a greater concern. Yeah. I spend a lot of my time navigating these emails that come in, trying to explain to people that actually this is not the case. Yeah. But there is so much other misinformation out there. But this movement towards the anti-sun cream movement is
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
We need more industry experts to be talking and shouting out about it, because we have these influential people like Gwyneth Paltrow who's saying, only put it on the places where the sun hits your skin, la la la. And people will follow her opinion because she is influential. Yeah. And they don't see potentially a dermatologist as influential, which is just crazy when you think about it. The derm should have all the credibility within social media. Yeah. It just doesn't work like that.
And people are looking for more, it's clickbait, but they're looking for more shares, likes and opportunities. And if they're in that position of influence, that is when it's quite dangerous. We're a charity that's got a very, very healthy, social media following. But when we see other platforms where they've got 250,000 followers and someone's telling people that, not to use sun cream, and there's 5,000 people commenting on that video or that reel, it's like...
Yeah, mind-boggling. There needs to be some form of regulation that will happen, hopefully. I mean, the UV safety inquiry is a really great step, isn't it, in terms of the beauty industry, including Face the Future and Skcin, in getting involved in something that hopefully will, make change, and it will end up going to Parliament.
The UV inquiry, I mean, the very reason this charity was formed was for the very reason to fill those gaps, because there were so many gaps, so many opportunities that people needed that education. So that was the very reason why this charity was set up. So this fact that the British Beauty Council have come along and launched the inquiry is huge, because it will mean that actually these gaps can be looked at, and also the work that we're doing in terms of filling those gaps can also be looked at. So it can only mean for great things in terms of elevating and amplifying what we're trying to achieve, who's doing great things, what can we do, what are the gaps,
and working together on it.
And working
really
together,
important.
yeah, definitely.
So obviously another big area of miseducation is the fact that, as we know, sun cream is not fat-free. What are your thoughts on that, really?
Well, it's a key aspect of our work in terms of what we advocate for. So we know that 57% of the public can't afford sun cream from research that we've done with a major retailer. So the accessibility and affordability of sun cream is absolutely crucial. And the fact that it carries VAT is quite ludicrous, really. So this is a straightforward black and white. It shouldn't have VAT on it at all. We started talking about this in 2016. We did some work with a major retailer in 2020. They've committed to remove VAT off their sun cream across the board and have since saved their consumers £2 million worth of savings.
Amazing.
So I'm very aware that obviously Face the Future have got theirs. So all this work is absolutely amazing. We also supported Amy Callaghan with a VAT burn campaign, and also Jessica Zimbeed and Webster as well with her Axe the SPF. So all of this noise around VAT and raising that issue with government is what we need to see happening. We're regularly engaging in government. We've put that in our consultation plan for the 10-year cancer plan and the NHS plan as well. So yes, absolutely, there should not be any VAT off SPF. If the primary purpose of that product is an SPF, it shouldn't have VAT on it at all.
So you were the pioneers of that then.
Yes.
As the charity.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you wish more people knew when it comes to protecting their skin? What's the most important thing that you think people should know?
I think part of the creativity that we've done this year, we've always advocated for the use of sun cream and checking your skin, but we've got a simple asset and creativity around what the campaign looks like now forever. And it's 2 words: protect and checked. So protect means to protect your skin by the use of a daily SPF, and check your skin means check it once a month. So 2 words, simple words: protect and check.
Yeah, amazing. So simple, so easy. Perfect. And then if listeners could take one thing away from this episode in particular, what would you want it to be?
I think the check and protect, or the protect and check message would be key for us. And actually just to take ownership of your own skin health. Skin is the largest organ in the body. We need to look after it. And we've got the best opportunity. It's unlike any other cancer. If you've got breast or bowel or cervical cancer, it's internal. You don't know whether you're carrying that cancer around with you. With skin cancer, you've got the best opportunity because it's in the majority of cases on the surface of the skin. So look after your skin, take charge of your own skin health. And if you're really serious about that, use an SPF daily and download our app to find out more.
Yeah. Amazing. I love how passionate you are about it. It's brilliant. So how can listeners support the skin charity in particular?
There's a vast array, really, because of our work with the 5 national accreditations that we look to embrace that journey with people, is they can get involved in any of those. So if they visit our website, they can support us with schools, get their children engaged with the schools programme, nurseries, the MASS programme, if they've got a hairdresser, a barber, or they're in that profession, the MASS Pro training, they can get engaged with that. Visit our website to just find out more and download the app. And if people want to fundraise, please consider fundraising for us as well, because that's super important. As a relatively small charity, punching above our weight, fundraisers are vital bloodline to helping us continue the great work that we do.
Yeah, amazing. So if you are listening or watching and you do think you've got something, going on with your skin that you're a bit worried about, please take this as a sign to go and get it checked.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you, Marie, for joining me today. It's been really interesting, and wishing you and Skin all the best.
No, thank you for the opportunity. And I applaud Face the Future as well for their work around the campaign of the SPF campaign 365, because that's a key message that you're delivering all year round. And actually, that's what we want to advocate for as well. So we applaud any brands or retailers that are delivering that same message. So I take my hat off to you for doing that.
Thank you so much. So thank you to everybody for listening. If you haven't already, please follow us on your preferred platform. It really helps us out. And you can also watch each episode on our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening.